I am like, truly, I do want to see Moonfall because it looks so ridiculous. And
it does. Well, Elliot's like, I want to see Moonfall. And I'm like, oh man, Ellie, you have no idea that this is what movies used to be. Like for a solid 5 years, this is what summer blockbusters were. Where like some piece of space is coming to Earth and Roland Emmerich is going to save us.
Roland Emmerich is the only man for the job.
I want a movie where he is the main character, where like the government has to go to Roland Emmerich. Welcome to the Writers Room Game Show. Today we're going to be writing a movie where Roland Emmerich is the protagonist and he's saving us. It's like Galaxy Quest, but with Roland Emmerich.
Welcome to the Writers Room Talk Show, the spinoff of the Writers Room Game Show. When if we don't have a show planned,
I like that you smile when you say it as if it's the most clever idea we've ever had in our life, calling it the Writers Room Talk Show. And as if we haven't done it 3 or 4 times.
It's really just an excuse if we don't have a show planned or aren't creatively feeling the juices. Let's just do a talk show so we can put something out.
I'm not feeling any juices.
And it's funny. Today is Wednesday. I've just realized we never share with people that we didn't have a show coming out this week.
We don't have a show
last
this week.
Week's show.
Last week. Sorry, guys.
Sorry about that, guys. But we've talked about our plans for season 3. We're going to be recording some new ones soon, so it should be very fun. Seth, how are you feeling? How are you doing today?
How am I doing? It's weird, man. I'm in like this weird winter funk where like it's.
Dude, I'm kind of in it as well.
I can't figure out how much of it is what the proportions are here. I've in this cocktail. I've got winter. Just winter, and you're in Texas. I know Texas winter is similar to Tennessee winter, where it's just post Christmas. It's just blah, just boo.
Apparently, everything's closing right now because we have this winter storm warning, where it's supposed to be another terrible Texas winter storm with electrical problems and all this crazy stuff. So we'll see what happens. But apparently, tons of ice and sleet and stuff supposed to come tomorrow and Friday. That should be fun.
I remember this happened last year during Sundance, and you watched Minari in pieces whenever your power would come back.
Yes, I did. We did actually do that. That was a lot of fun. The power would come on for 30 minutes. We'd start this movie up, and then it would go out, and we'd hang out and read and try to stay warm. And then, things are a little different with the baby now. Now I'm just thinking about oh no,
how are we
we're supposed to take it this. If that happens, we still have to take care of a baby and keep it warm. That's stressful, man. But hopefully that doesn't happen. Hopefully, fingers crossed.
I really hope that doesn't happen for you because that sucks. And it also makes anything I was about to complain about completely stupid.
No, your emotional
you could be without
is
power.
Very important.
No, I'm going through emotionally. No, what you're about to go through physically. No, I can't tell how much of it's winter, how much of it is. I've got a shoot coming up this weekend that I've prepped the hell out of, but I still feel. I think this happens on every single shoot, and I forget about it if it goes well. That I feel like storm clouds.
Like an anxious mess.
Yeah, I feel it's like the shoot is this looming storm, whatever the analogy is.
I feel the exact same way.
Just it's and not even that things will go wrong or that I'll do poorly. I'm worried about those things, of course, but it's more about getting in trouble. I don't know why that's still a fear that I have from childhood of this terrified fear of getting in trouble with figures of authority, forgetting to do something. It's not even for doing anything wrong. It's for forgetting that I had homework, forgetting that I am not supposed to graffiti a bridge, forgetting that I,
forgetting that you should not commit a crime.
Yeah, I forget constantly that crime is not to be committed. So I don't know. I'm worried about getting in trouble with, either agency. It's working for an agency I love working with.
We just came off of, we hadn't done a really fun commercial in a while, and we actually just shot one this past week, and I was very excited for it. And I think it's one of those things where with this specific project, I think I told you, the original thing we pitched, I was really excited about, super funny, felt very me. And then there's, all sorts of miscommunication with the budget and stuff. And then we ended up shooting a concept that I wasn't as excited about, but I was still, getting into. And then, typical things, right? When the shoot ends, I can only think about what I did wrong or typical mistakes I would make. For this one, I wasn't shooting enough coverage, where the 30-second spot, literally had every single shot that we took. So no, room to sort of experiment. I've been feeling a little bit in the funk this week as well. Just typical director stuff where it's dude, I can bring this to the next, the lessons I've learned to the next, thing we shoot. But I'm I look at the spot And I'm like, oh man, we could have done so much better.
I mean, you feel that way on anything, but no, I'm not going to, I'm sorry, I'm not going to downplay or negate the
I mean, like I do. 100%. I was saying that as well.
100%. Yeah. So winter and looming shoots and what's the opposite of looming? Something that is lingering, looming and lingering. That's the name of this episode.
You're going to do great, Seth.
And you did great. Right.
Thanks. Is the concept and everything you excited about? It's just like the typical. Usually for me, it's like the night before and like the morning of. I feel like so sick, and then I like start shooting, and I'm like, okay, yeah, this is great. I'm in the groove. Once I actually am on set directing.
I spread my anxiety out across like several days, like the week leading up to it, and so it's like I'm microdosing anxiety throughout like the week prior. I worry about stuff, but I tend to be closer to shoot the more, like, especially Tech Scout. Once you do Tech Scout, I feel a lot better. Like
totally.
I know what I've got to work with, and then we get a pre-light on this one, which is great.
Nice.
And so that, like, I'll be able to like evenly spread the anxiety out across and not be super worried too much. And we get to do art build that same day as well. So, but it's a packed script that I didn't write. And so it does require extra prep on my end because I didn't write it and I'm not as familiar with it. I've had...
Yeah, just wrap your brain around how you're going to shoot it. And
Well, and it's like tricky because it's in a space that I've shot in before where the windows are all, it's got these windows all along the left. And it's like a co-working space and then it's got this space that's just wide enough to put some desks in, but not, it feels more like a walkway to more area. And then it's like these glass door conference rooms over here to the right. And so you've got all this light coming in from one side. And if you want to shoot 360 on this thing, it gets complex because you've got to bounce and even out that light on the right side.
Yeah.
And you got to put
unless
that
you want
stuff.
to shoot out the windows and then it's blown out and you got to balance like...
Which is okay, but you're missing the money is all like on the right. It's like you've got, it's your money is like evenly distributed. Not even, it's like literally cut in half where you're like, you've got it looks better lighting wise to shoot toward the windows, but this is what the problem is. It looks better lighting wise to shoot toward the windows, but all the money, all the like set you're paying for and all like the co-working looking, the co-work spaciness of it is all on the right, is all this direction. And so it makes for some like, I'm all like limitations are my thing. Like that's how I get any work done, but it's the bad kind of limitations where it's like you have a meh choice this direction or a meh choice this direction. I feel like we're going to get some really good stuff though. I'm not super worried about it, but like I got to get there on the day and like it's been a hard one to shot list because I haven't known like layout or where it took a long time to find the location. And I've got a great creative director on it though. And I met with them a bunch of times about it and we're on the same page. Like again, it's an agency I love working with. So it's up to me to screw up. So we'll see.
You won't, Seth. It's going to be great.
Yeah, it will be, but I have to worry for a few days before for it to not screw up. Forgot what this all stemmed from. You asked how I was, and that's how I am.
Yes. Yeah, I think I'm slowly getting over my little hump there, my post-shoot hump, because I'm thinking about other. Sorry.
Well, I know I'm curious about we may be getting too personal. I'm curious how you were.
No, we never get personal, so this is great.
Well, you've got a baby, and I know that like I'm curious how you're doing. Like, how's it going on that end in terms of sleep and home and work balance? And
I'd rather not share.
That's what I thought.
No, I mean it's going great. It's hard because I feel like now Whitney is doing the most of the like lack of sleep. I mean, I'm exhausted all the time now. I think I'm getting used to it. the parent exhaustion. I'm like, oh, okay, you just kind of live with it until like
it doesn't last forever. It doesn't last forever. I promise.
Yeah, I mean Whitney's doing the most of it because she's still getting up during the night to feed Amelie, but it's going great. I think I'm just kind of figuring out how am I supposed to have like a rhythm and a schedule. I still kind of haven't figured that out, especially with, how our jobs are, how it's just kind of, I own a production company, but I'm also like, going on set and directing projects. And then, I'm working sort of weird hours making treatments or doing something like that. And then also doing the podcast and but also I'm supposed to have things like working out and
those don't fit. Those won't fit for a while, bud.
I'm like, I'm supposed to because I'm like, right now, I'm like, I stopped drinking soda because I'm like, I don't do coffee or tea. Or like, I'm not really addicted to anything except sugar. And I'm like, if I can just cut some sugar out of it, I'll get a little healthier.
I feel like if I cut any more out of my life, I'll have nothing to eat. Like, because I feel like I understand why I am cutting things out is because I don't have time to even go for a friggin' walk. And meanwhile, and by the way, your child at one point, just a warning, will get old enough to be able to shame you for these things when they suddenly, because Elliot's very much into, Apple has, for all the things Apple has done, I think one of the most brilliant things they've done is like gamifying. I mean, it wasn't their idea, but gamifying fitness in terms of creating challenges on the Apple Watch and stuff. Because
so Elliot's super into that.
He's not like a fitness nut, but he kind of is now because he is in like a competition with his best friend. Started for fun, but now they're like, he gets up and like will go for, if he has time before school, he'll go for a long walk before school just to get his steps ahead of his friend.
Nice.
And he like rides the Peloton we've got.
Puts on an episode of the Writers Room Game Show and he just goes on a walk.
That's what I want. That's all I want. No, it's not. He's gotten old enough now where he's like, you could just go for a run. You could so and so. And I'm like, I know that you're being really supportive and optimistic, but I haven't told him this,
but me feel really bad.
Every time he says it, I'm like, I need that to not be true. I need it to not be true that I could just go for a run and pick out a pocket of time, because if that's true, it means I'm intentionally not doing it, and then I feel guilt.
Yep, that's so funny, dude. Yeah, but I'm like, when am I supposed to do this? I'm like, I have the precious 3 hours. Like, I get home around 5:30 from our office, which is a few. I'm luckily at our house is a few minutes away, so I can kind of get out of the house to work at our office. But get home, I'll play with Amelie for a bit. We'll see her for a few hours before I put her down to sleep, and then me and Whitney have 3 hours to do something until it's we're tired and we want to go to bed. So it's
and so you just watch The Office for 3 hours. But it's at least that's our house.
Yes, catch up on our TV shows or watch a movie or hang out or
no, but it's in our house. When our kids were young, it was literally just watch The Office. It was just put The Office on for 3 hours and look at our phones.
Yes, yeah. I mean, it's a lot of that too.
It wasn't even new TV.
I think when Amelie was a baby, we watched through The Office in 2 weeks, the entire series while she breastfeeding and taking care of her when she was the first few weeks, which that was pretty crazy. The amount of TV we watched. Parks and Rec was next. That took a few weeks, and then you have your regulars.
There's an episode, from it's Office and Parks and Rec for us, and then we throw a few things into rotation in there, but then there's that's the ones that we both that's our thing. But if it's just me, if it were just if for some reason Arlie had a busy social life and I did not, it would just be West Wing nonstop in the house. One thing I'll always forgive me if I've told this on podcast. If I've told this on podcast, I am caveman. Me, Seth, you, Ryan. I can't remember which kid. It must have had to have been Ava or Olivia, one of the girls, because timing wise, Parks and Rec was still on, but this was an older episode at the time. The snake juice episode. Where they all get drunk and they all get hungover. And it's in the second half of the episode where the third act of the episode where they're all, hungover the next day.
Ron accidentally marries Tammy, remarries her, right?
No, different episode. That's different.
Okay.
That gets its own episode. This was where the next day they wake up and Ben comes in and he's Leslie's clearly completely hungover and looks terrible. And she's like, I'm hungover. Are you hungover? He goes, no, I feel great. And she's like, really? He's like, no, I threw up in the shower.
Oh my God, I'm so hungover. I've never been this hungover. Are we dead?
I feel great. I ran 5K this morning.
Really?
No, I threw up in the shower.
But there's a moment in that episode where Andy is at the shoe shine. He's shining Kyle's shoes, and April is trying to talk to him, and he's like, "Hon, I'm sorry." He has this whole conversation with her, and then she walks off, and he sits down, turns, and throws up all over Kyle's shoes, and it cuts as the vomit hits Kyle's shoes.
Oh, ring-a-ding-dang. Who's calling? Oh, is it Janet Snackhole? Why, yes it is. And who's she calling for? Mr. Bart Macklin. And I'll tell you another thing.
Oh, honey, please. I love you. No offense. But Bart Macklin died last night after the 10th shot of snake juice.
Okay. Sorry.
Ms. Snakehole, you think I'd let you get away that easily? Bart Macklin may be dead, but I'm his brother. Kip. Hackman.
Why wouldn't you have his same last name?
Shut up, Kyle. I know you boosted those paintings.
Maybe it was me, but I'll never tell you where they are, and you'll never have my body either.
I'm up in the middle of the night feeding whoever it was, whatever child it was of mine, busted out laughing. And I had seen it before, and I just busted out laughing and woke up. Not just the kid I was feeding, but the kid that was asleep too, because I was so delirious, and it was literally the funniest thing I'd ever seen in my life, and still is.
That scene is great.
I don't know if that story was worth the amount of time I took out of our
was.
podcast. But we don't have an agenda, so I'm going to tell as many stories as I want.
But yeah, all that to say, it's good. Actually, I think the most productive thing I've done is our garage was filthy, so I cleaned like half of the garage one day while I could, and we have a workout bike that I haven't touched in 6 months, I think.
You just pushed it deeper into the junk in the other half.
Well, no, I made a little area. I hung up because finally got a 4K. Whitney's like, I don't know if she'll make it this far into the podcast, but Whitney, if you're listening, I love you. She does not like technology. She's like very like any like automated or like smart device, like not crazy about. She's like, we don't need a fancy TV, all this stuff. Where I'm like, just the minimum. Like I would love a 4K TV. This year, she's like, get your TV, whatever you've done. You've earned
Whitney.
it. I was like, yes. We have Sonos. Sonos is probably like the most futuristic thing we have in our house, which is awesome.
It's awesome.
But I finally got like an OLED TV. It's amazing. It's the one with filmmaker mode. Like all the filmmakers, like
they call it filmmaker mode.
Yeah, filmmaker mode, and it basically
or it's just normal TV settings.
Yeah, it turns off all of the fancy settings, which is great. But
and makes it a TV. I love that filmmaker mode makes it a TV. That's like the ultimate gaslighting of a like to all of. Oh my god!
And the promo video, it's like Chris Nolan and Ryan Johnson and Paul Thomas Anderson and all these people. They're like, it's it helps you watch things. It's the
I don't know how I missed this. I remember the Tom Cruise and Chris McQuarrie plead.
They were part of the promo as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't see the one with everybody else then, I guess.
Yeah. But anyways, we got that. So I moved our TV to the garage. And so I put like the TV right in front of the workout bike. And I'm like, oh yeah, I'll do
This is the old TV, not the new TV.
Yes, I put the old TV in the garage.
But you put the new TV in there to motivate you to get on the bike and you still don't. So the new TV is just sitting in there.
But I was like, yeah, I'll watch because I'm like, if I could watch movies and TV shows like while I work out, that would maybe make me do it.
Yeah. Has it?
I still haven't.
Nope.
I mean, I still haven't gotten out there since we've had the baby, but eventually, like, I'd like to work that into my rhythm, even if it's like a few days a week.
I can't figure out what time of day to do it. Like I
know
I had a nice.
I know you work really well in the morning because I know your schedule's usually blocked off. I'm assuming you're writing or doing creative work or doing something that.
The past week, no, it's been me waking up and
playing with your Stream Deck.
Yes, it's been me waking up and playing with a Stream Deck. And it's been not smart. Like that's the worst. I know that the two worst things I could do in the morning, I mean, out of my options, not like in the world, but are like kill somebody. No, that's low on the list. Are like get on social media or get like obsessed with a small task, like some small menial, like not even task, but some small menial, start a new tiny hobbyist project on a weekday early in the morning. I always think like, oh, this is actually,
play
I don't have anything.
And then do that.
Honestly, no, play Wordle and then anything is great. Which, did you try Times the other day too? I tried Times as my
right
test
after
word.
they bought it?
Yeah.
No, but that's really smart.
Because I couldn't think of any 5-letter word that had to do with tons of money besides money.
I used to have go-to words that I'd like rotate, but now I got bored of it. So I'm just like, whatever random word is on my mind, I'll just plug it in, even if it's ridiculous and probably won't have any letters. I'm just like, because I got the first one time. The Shire. I got it first because I'd been thinking about Lord of the Rings the night before. So I'm like, that worked. So I'm just going to keep trying and putting random, words I'm thinking about.
Shire was a random choice of yours? I thought Shire was an actual test word you had.
I mean, I'd put it in a few times because it's like we have on our Slack, there's a Lord of the Rings meme Twitter that we have auto set up. Like every tweet will go to a Slack channel.
Nice.
So I'm just always thinking about Lord of the Rings. So I tried it a few times before, but I was like, it was one of those things that, I don't know. I was feeling lucky, but now I'm just like putting in random things.
I found so I had a routine when at our old house, in our like condo, when I was still like, that was still like prime pandemic time. It was like survivalist mode still,
Yeah.
I was in this condo we were meant to be in for a couple months that we ended up being in for a year and a half. Life for me personally was kind of a bit in turmoil, and for our family of figuring out where we were going to be because we had just come back from LA and pandemic was happening. And so I was still in kind of survivalist mode. And so I developed these habits for self-care that it's like I'd get up early in the morning, I'd work on, because the kids were at home, I would do like real work that morning. Whatever was the most pressing thing I'd do. I'd get up at 5 and I'd do that. And I motivate myself with these specific, with waffles. And usually by the time they woke up was the time I started kind of like losing steam on whatever that was. And hopefully I'd finished and turned something in. And then I was able to kind of be half present at work and half available for screaming kids.
Yeah.
And then at exactly 5, I cut off, I'd stop working. It gave me enough time to go do the Peloton that we got while in the pandemic for like 30 to 45 minutes, and then have dinner with whoever happened to be home during, like, at the time, because there was dance or I don't remember. And then I would usually have a class on some nights. Right after that. So that was like my routine. It was like was able to fit it in somewhere. Now in this new house, since we got here, it's like that like self-care routine has kind of become like is relaxed a lot, because it's like we're still coming out of a pandemic kind of, and we have a house now. And so I'll be done at 5, and I've been downstairs. Like, my wife hasn't seen me. I'm no longer in the living room working. So if I go straight from here to the Peloton, which is in the garage, she's like, why aren't you upstairs yet? Like, why are you? Which understandably, she's like, oh yeah, it's just an extension of I've been down here all day, but I don't know how to do it. I don't want to work out in the morning because that's when my brain is like the most attentive. So I don't know what to do, Ryan. Yeah. Listeners, call 1-866-HEY-WRGS and tell me
I love that
I should work out.
This episode is like Seth and Ryan talk about personal struggles.
It is.
Yeah. I mean, I feel that, especially like right now, Amelie, typically she'll wake up anywhere between like 5:30 and 7. And like Whitney will feed her, and then because I just want to like try to let Whitney rest, because she'll get up during the night as well. Like take care of Amelie for like an hour or two, like right when I wake up, right before I go to work. And so like, and then I'll go to work, and then when I get home, it's like I feel like it's already like it's just tough. Maybe we should just work less. Maybe that's what we should do.
I hate that you solved it by proposing that. No, it's true. Like, we probably should work less. I've struggled with that literally this week, because I've been really tired. Like, by the afternoon, we had that meeting earlier this week where we both just like,
dude, we were so out of it.
We really should have both just fell silent at the exact moment, and then just logged off the Zoom and not said a word about it. And it would have been, we would have completely understood.
I was like really trying to push through. We were like 45 minutes in. I'm like, hey, so I'm really tired. You good?
I think I'll go home now. Yep. But like, I am struggling with like this 5 a.m. thing is really good for me when I have something that's pressing that needs to get done. But when I don't have anything pressing that needs to get done, that's when I'll kind of wake up at 5 and dick around, like on either on the Stream Deck, or, which I know that time is important creatively, but it's not worth depriving yourself of sleep. And I struggle with like, I rely so much on routine to just function as a person, like as a working individual, but also just as like in my personal life too. I need routine in order to not go crazy. But I'm like, I feel like I should be sleeping in at least a little bit on mornings when I don't have to, mornings when I don't have something pressing that needs to get up and I don't know.
It's funny you say that, and I'm like, I feel like I should sleep in less and like work on stuff that is pressing, or like, because for me, like, I feel like I'm sleeping enough, I just need to have more of a routine, because I'm like, I haven't had a routine in like at least 6 months, definitely before that as well. I'm like, figuring out a time to work out, figuring out a time where I can like write or do something creative outside of like production company work, Yeah.
I think living with ADHD for like my entire life is like, I've gotten myself to a place to where like,
nice,
this is how I function. Like, I've got like stuff like Calendly set up to where I don't have to answer a text for someone saying,
you
when
are
you free?
Heavily automated.
I rely on it, dude, for like, and it really has like in the past couple years automating a bunch of stuff like scheduling. Like I've just started telling my friends, like, it's nothing personal, nothing impersonal about me sending you this Calendly link. It literally will ensure that we meet. And you were one of the people who has like understood that and not taken it personally. Like, and you adhere to it. Like, and it's wonderful because for me,
the thing is, it's kind of nice for me too, because there's a lot of times I don't even ask you about it. I'll just see when you're available and I'll schedule it in hopes that you're like, won't be like, oh, like another meeting. Like,
what I was about to say was I'll like get up in the morning and I have a shortcut that's called today's meetings. I'll tap it and it'll give me a list of everything I have for today, and I'll uncheck anything I don't want an alarm for, but I usually have everything, and it sets a 3-minute alarm for me that will go off. So that's like the exact moment. If it goes off, because if an alarm goes off 5 minutes before, I'll put it off. If it goes off 15 minutes, but 3 minutes before,
it's the perfect number.
It is now, like, it's meeting time. I have to do it right now. And I'll see like a meeting with Polly today, and I'll be like, oh my God, that's great. Like, gives me something to look forward to during the day. Like, legitimately is my emotional response. But yeah, I rely heavily on like this app called Things. It's based on it does the whole David Allen getting things done system. And I have specific times, like I get up in the morning and go to bed and like finish work. Like I have to have that routine, or else I move into like just severe anxiety, and like a lot of it ends up just being free floating anxiety of like I need something to worry about. But like having a routine tells me exactly what to worry about when. If that makes sense.
I'm interested to hear from you how, just say no if you don't want to talk about any of this stuff, because I know we're putting all of this stuff out into the podcast world for random people.
If I had a podcast, it would be called Seth Still Oversharing. Seth Still Talking, Seth Still Oversharing. Yeah.
Like what, because I always have trouble when it comes to writing. I guess I'll talk about writing since it's a writer's writing podcast. I always have a hard time like doing my like creative writing, working on a feature or a short or what have you, with my time doing commercial work and just like business owner stuff with Weekend Video. When have you found is like, do you have a rhythm in terms of like when you work, let's say it's just not at all, but let's say like,
I'm shaking my head for the listeners. I'm not just shaking my head at this answer, at this question immediately.
Absolutely not. But like for like Sketch, for instance, have you announced that it's called that yet?
For what?
Sketch?
Oh yeah, Sketch. It was called Darker Colors, and it was a short that I made as a proof of concept for a feature. No. And the feature is now called Sketch, so you can talk about Sketch.
But like when you're doing like revisions or something on Sketch, like I'm assuming when you have a goal and a deadline, it's a lot easier for you to like set aside those hours to write it. But if it's like a first draft, that's sort of like just when it comes, you're writing it.
Have I written any of Alts? Like, is any of that written yet? Alts, by the way, for the listeners, is a movie that Polly and I have been like, we've been writing.
But there's so much of that research and outline and sort of development phase that I'm assuming you're just like, when it comes, you're writing it and you're putting it down on paper. There's not like you don't have like a rhythm where you're like, hey, I'm going to try to get up. I'm going to work this week, just one day a week or something. I'll work on getting alts out there. Or
here's what I know. I know from experience that if I just got up every morning and committed to a couple pages, even without a plan, just committed to a couple pages, I could have a first draft written quicker than I usually do, and I could put that in a drawer for a month or two, and I could come back and rewrite it. I know from experience that if I did not put the pressure on and just like set a couple pages a day, that progress would be very real.
Totally.
I have yet to implement it.
Robert Cargill always tweets like these really inspirational sort of writer inspiration. And just the other day, he's like, if you write one page a day, by the end of this year, you're going to have 2 features.
Yeah.
If you do 2 pages a day, you may have a full series or, 4 features.
He's very right. And the thing is, whatever is like pressing tends to take priority. So like, if I have, are you asking about personal projects? You're not asking about like, stuff that I'm paid to do.
Because that's what I feel like. That's what I struggle with. I'm like, always.
It is 100% what I struggle with. Well, like this week, I've struggled with the fact that I could just start writing. I've thought about just starting to write a couple pages of karma after the couple, conversations we've had about it. Yeah. And I've started thinking about alts lately too. About like I could I have the first act in my head, like kind of what it could be. Why don't I just do that? And then I wake up in the morning and I don't do it. And I think part of it is because like it's the features that I have finished writing, almost all of them except for one they all got a deadline on them. The first one was the deadline was with my friends. We just decided we were going to shoot this like 10, 15 years ago. We decided we were going to shoot it on like in June. And
is that Time Closet, that one?
Yeah. So April and May, I just buckled down and wrote it. And then one that I wrote called Based on an Untrue Story, right after Plot Device, which is on spec for a producer who convinced me to write it. I wrote that because I told her I'd have a draft on Monday. And it was Thursday.
Oh my God.
And I turned it in on like the next Thursday or Wednesday or something, because of course it took me longer than a weekend to write a feature film. Another one I wrote with my friend Steve Taylor, and that was one where he was graciously, I want to say he got desperate to where he was like, I'll pay you to have this many pages by this date. And he did. Yeah. And so because my friend was paying me, I felt the guilt, like it made me go do it. And then on Sketch, which was Darker Colors at the time,
yeah, I know you were able to have, luckily you were able to have a little time off work to focus on that, right?
Yeah, and I felt the guilt of having been given the time off work. Yeah. And so I felt that, like, I need to take advantage of this. And I got the first draft written during that time and then was discouraged by it and put it in a drawer for a year. And then almost exactly a year later, I had...
Which I think that's the only draft that I've read. You should send me
it's so much better. Good God, it's so much better. But about almost a year later, Tony had seen the sizzle I made for the short, and Tony got involved with it. We got a production company interested in it, and I'm probably talking about this publicly elsewhere, but I just don't know how much I should talk about. But anyway, this really like well-known production company was very into it and asked I had turned the first act, which I was
going to be an A24 picture.
Nope. It was
that would be the weirdest
pair up. It would be the weirdest
spin on.
It would be. But then I'm sorry, I'm talking too long. They asked if I had taken the first act I was confident with and made it into a pilot script, and they were like, "This reads more like a feature. Is there a feature version of this somewhere?" And I said, "Yes, I'll have it to you before our meeting in 2 days." And I took a 160-page first draft and like cut 30 pages I cut so much from it like in like 2 or 3 days and restructured a lot of it. But it's like those deadlines help me, but it's like it drives me nuts because it's like weeks like this where I don't have pressing stuff to work on in the mornings. I could have just been writing this like personal stuff.
Yeah,
and
same.
Moving it along. That's why I'm going to start tomorrow.
Yeah, I mostly ask because I've always struggled with that too, because we sort of being able to make my own schedule and like there's like so much freedom in the job that I have, but at the same time owning a production company and working on like sort of knowing that I'm sort of like my income, which for now is commercial work, relies on me doing this work for the commercial production company and sort of everything that encapsulates that in addition to actually writing and directing the commercials.
Yeah.
And taking personal time to work on passion projects, although it will contribute to the future of our company because our goal is to one day be able to produce features and hopefully make a living doing that kind of work. There's still that like, I need to do this outside of my like company time, which is so incredibly flexible, but I still like to keep sort of like a 8 to 5 kind of thing just because.
Well, and also you've set up this world for your creative work. Like you've set up this room for your creative work. You've set up and the idea of like going and sitting in a coffee shop to do this incredibly daunting thing on your own, alone, away from your like creative, like,
yes,
environment you've built and resources, it doesn't make sense. And your brain is like, this doesn't make sense. Why are you doing this?
and I've gone through things where it's like when we're a lot smaller, a few years ago, like, hey, I'm just every Friday, as long as we don't have a shoot, I'm taking off so I can just spend that whole day to write. But it's one of those things where kind of like you say in the first Story Clock promo, how it's like you don't have anything and then suddenly a lightning strikes and like you have like, it was weird for me having just like one day a week where I'm supposed to write. And if I wasn't feeling inspired that day, then it's like, it's just hard to get the pages. But if I just said, hey, super low pressure, 1 page a day, just get it out.
What you just described though as hell is if you don't have an idea to write. I see that's the thing is I remember having so much free time in my early 20s, like before, like my like while in college or like right after of like, where there was this period right before I got married where I was like freelance and kind of working at Starbucks. And it's like, so I had all this free time and it was like, I'm going to write a short to do this weekend. What is it going to be? That's the worst, absolute worst feeling. Because like, it's one thing to have an idea you're excited about, but feeling the dread of sitting down and writing it or feeling like it's not any good while you're writing it. But like, having
and it's another thing to
literally no
do a
idea.
48. It's another thing to do like
yeah.
a 48-hour thing where it's like they give you prompts and you at least have a starting point. If you're just like, what should I make? I want to make a short film. What should I like? That's the worst. Like, you're not
Okay,
gonna come
so
up
that's
with
the
anything.
worst. The second worst is like a 40-hour film festival where like you're given the parameters and you do what you should do, which is you say, okay, what do we have to work with? We've got so-and-so has this car, we've got this driveway, we've got this house, we can do this, what if we did this? And then you got a room full of people who are like, yeah, but what if instead it was blah, 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 blah. And what if blah, 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 and you don't commit to anything and no one's making any choices.
Yes, that's why the only time we've done 48 hours, it's like we have only a few people in the room at the beginning writing like the thing, and then like we
Very
make
smart.
the calls. Here's what we're making, right when we have an outline, it's like we're making this is what we're doing. Producer goes off and produces, the writer goes off and writes. The
Very
director is
smart.
like already shot listing sequences. Like at least that's what we've done, because we did the first one and it was like so many cooks in the kitchen, and it's
Yes.
like, dude, this is the worst thing ever. And then the movie is just super bland and
It's hell.
yeah,
That's the
we told
nightmare.
ourselves we're not going to do it anymore. The last one we did was in like 2018, because we had all this crew from like super professional crew that works on these huge commercials, and everyone's like, hey, yeah, let's do a 48-hour. We have like these anamorphic lenses shooting on the Alexa. Like, it's kind of this weird thing where like most of the people that are shooting, like they're shooting on DSLRs and like just like having fun, where like we want to have fun too, but we don't want to make them look bad. But like, we kind of want to see what this would be like if we like actually tried really hard and like had like did it legit, like everyone's in legit crew roles and like treating it like a commercial, which was fun. But then I'm in losing my mind editing for like
that's
overnight. And
that's like when we did Real Gone. Which for
did you
those
guys
listening,
crank
was a
that out
short.
fast?
Well, no, but that was the first time, I think I've told the story on the podcast, maybe not, where I felt like I looked around on set and I was like, I finally figured out how to delegate, how to actually just direct and not one man band this. Like I have a great working relationship with Chris Adams. And Fogerty produced this and handled all these logistics that I didn't have to touch. I had just a great team overall in that thing, and a really, really, really great departments on that one. And like I was still there was a lot of stuff I was still doing, like gathering some props and doing stuff. But overall, it was like now I've finally figured out how to let go of the camera and work with somebody else and collaborate and make this thing. And then I sat down to edit and was like, oh God, I forgot to do this with post, like where I sat down, I was like, I have to edit all of this and do all the VFX and color it and mix it. Yeah. And I was like, now I'm going to figure out how to do this. I got to tell you that when you were saying like, we had these anamorphic lenses, we had so-and-so, it reminds me of like, I think that my nightmare is someone saying, hey, we've got all this killer gear. Let's go shoot
what
something.
should we make?
Yes. I'm like,
yes, that is
nothing.
That is.
We should make nothing like that. I'm like, I don't know, because
although it didn't turn out great, but there was one time where we had a commercial shoot. We rented all this gear. The shoot got canceled. We couldn't get money back on the gear. And so we wrote like a little like sketch like that day to shoot with that stuff. It wasn't great, but it was one of those things where it's like we're at least exercising our storytelling muscles while we have the...
That's great. 100%. Process wise, it's a great exercise to do. Results wise, for me, it's never worked out. It's always been, and with it then comes the guilt of we wasted all of this awesome stuff on this mediocre little thing that we threw together last second. And it also comes down to people who are like,
well, it depends on the person too, where it's like there's especially like very inexperienced filmmakers where they're all about the gear. Like, we got this stuff, let's go shoot something.
And the making of it. I think that's what I'm getting at, is like they're all about the like, we just want to make something. I want to make features. And you're like, it's a lot of work. Like my brain doesn't work that way. Like I don't get excited about, hey, like now it's like, hey, you want to make like what if I gave you this much money to go make a short? Like that does nothing for me. Like if my brain doesn't work, then my brain works to where like if someone were to say, what if I gave you this much money to go make sketch? What if I gave you this much money to go make this idea you have? Then I get excited, because I get excited about the actual idea, because then it's a thing I'm trying to make. But making a movie for the sake of making a movie is one of the most despondent ideas to me. Like,
yes.
But that's just me.
Did you see the trailer? I'm trying to remember that. I was Googling it while you were
Moonfall?
talking.
Definitely. Watched it 80 times.
Moonfall. I
That
want to
moon
see
is
Moonfall,
coming for
'cause-
us. My dude, the DP of Moonfall was the DP on my Esurance spot, Robbie Baumgartner.
No way.
Yeah, one of the
Star
sweetest
Trek
guys
one.
in the world, and he shot my
looks-
Star Trek commercial.
It looks just as glossy and lens flare filled.
Yes,
as
same same production, same budget, same production value.
I am like truly. I do want to see Moonfall because it looks so ridiculous. And
It does. Well, Elliot's like, I want to see Moonfall, and I'm like, oh man, Ellie, you have no idea that this is what movies used to be. Like for a solid 5 years, this is what summer blockbusters were. Where like some piece of space is coming to Earth, and Roland Emmerich is going to save
Roland
us.
Emmerich is the only man for the job.
I want a movie where he is the main character, where like the government has to go to Roland Emmerich. Welcome to
it's
the
like
Writers Room Game
it's
Show.
like-
Today we're going to be writing a movie where Roland Emmerich is the protagonist and he's saving us. It's like
that
Galaxy Quest, but with Roland
Wes
Emmerich.
the Wes Craven movie where he's like in it. It's like the
What is that?
New Nightmare is what it's called, and it's like the
Wait.
Nightmare on Elm Street.
That's not what I was thinking of. But the
Wes
Freddy
Craven's
movie,
New Nightmare, where
Yeah.
it's like it's the Nightmare on Elm Street. It's like the fifth one, but it's like a movie where those movies exist, and the actress who plays the main character in Nightmare on Elm Street begins to be haunted by an actual demon who takes the form.
Oh wow, I haven't seen this.
Of Freddy Krueger, and Wes Craven is a character in the movie. Like he's directing himself.
I could have sworn I saw this, but apparently I did not.
I don't think I've seen it. I just saw the trailer. I'm like, this looks insane.
Darren, if you're listening, I'm sorry. I thought I had seen this, and I haven't. Darren
Wes
Vandergriff, who was our
fan?
focus. He's a big horror fan, like in general. And
Did you see the new Scream? We didn't
not
talk
yet.
about.
He and I were going to go see it, and he understandably couldn't wait for me because I, like, everybody in my family got COVID, in shifts. So at that point, when he was going to see it, like one of my kids had it, and I couldn't swing it. But no, I haven't seen it yet.
It is great. I think you're gonna love it.
Oh, so you saw it? I didn't know that.
Yes, I did. Sorry, Seth. I didn't.
You
I
didn't
couldn't
wait for
you.
me to come to Texas see it with you.
Imagine if I was like, "Hey, I'm in Nashville. You want to see Scream?"
Well, then I would like have to move things around and like lie that my kid doesn't have COVID and spread it.
I'm like, "Why are you wearing 4 masks, Seth?"
And shivering.
But no, I was gonna say there's a terrible Christian movie. It's called like 2021 or something. I'm losing why I'm even bringing this up. It was something about how some people just say like, let's make a feature, and then they make it, and it's like, oh no, you should not have made a feature.
Oh, that's yes. That's yes.
Oh, are you saying yes and because you've been there before?
Because what you're talking. Well, because I've been there before. I know people who've done it. I know people like.
Well, I brought it up because there's this. I mean, it looks. I don't even remember the name of it, so I'll just say there was a terrible sort of like Christian movie that was about like how post-pandemic the government took over and like took control of everyone, and of course it's like about being persecuted, Christians being persecuted. They love being persecuted. I am a Christian. I'm not a part of that.
And I love being persecuted. It's like my favorite. We have persecution parties where we get together and we just talk about all the things that the government's doing to us, making it hard for us to live.
Yeah, there's like, you see the trailer and it's like, oh no, like, and one of my friends was like, how did this movie get made? And I had to tell him like, I could go and make I could spend next week making a feature with my friends. Like we have all the gear. We have everything that like.
We have the resources.
We have cameras and gear. Like I could shoot Dune with some of the gear that we have.
But but it's the why. It's the what is it for?
Yeah, and like it depends on, do you have a good script? Do you have good talent attached? Like it's filmmaking is all about the people involved and the ideas, and so it's like if you don't have any of that and you just have the right gear, it's like you can go shoot it and it'll be the worst movie you've ever seen.
I'm going to say this on a podcast so that maybe I can hear it later and realize it's wrong, and it can unlock my brain finally and allow me to make things. But what holds me up these days is not the like, how am I going to go do this? Or like you're saying, it's like I could find the resources to go do this. It's the, what am I going to do with it after? Like if I ask people for money and they ask me, so what's your plan? What are you going to do with it? I don't know. And it's because it's like buying, I've said this before, but I've read everything about it. I've had smart people tell me like everything about the market and the process of selling a movie and the process of like, different strategies and blah, 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 and seeking distribution. I can read everything about it, but it's like buying a house. Like first time you buy a house, you care about what the realtor tells you to care about because you don't know anything.
Yeah.
You're just you buy a house, then you sell that house and you buy another one and you're like, okay, I've done this. I know that crack doesn't matter. I know that crack does matter. I know, a little more, and you can make educated decisions. And it's just the idea of doing all of this work for something that may never sell or be seen by anybody, but worse, I may make terrible choices, business choices, like trying to get it into the world and ruin its potential, like makes it feel like, what's the point of doing it? Like, and I'm hearing myself saying it out loud and it sounds even more like excuses and whining, but it's not, it's real.
No, but I mean, I agree with you. There is something that I admire about people just going, like, especially going about it, like, I can't think of any names, but if like you have a great script and you have people involved and it's a shootable movie, like, yeah, let's like go shoot the movie. Like if you have the budget for that specific script, like go do it. But there is sometimes where I'm like, do you really want to like use all of like which I know like you've shot feature over weekends before, but like, do you want to gather all these friends and like spend months like only shooting your movie on weekends, using and like get people to come out for free to help you and like all of this stuff and work really hard on it only for it to like release for free on, or like that you can rent on Amazon for $5 and hopes that people will watch it and then you don't make money back and like,
to just blend into the noise. Like that's the thing is like, it's hard to get moving on something when you can't unless
your goal is to just make it and get it out there and like you want the experience to just make it. But if it's
I don't know how valuable that is. Like to me at this, like that's the thing is I'm having trouble quantifying that.
It's not that valuable for us right now. If you're if you're just out there and like, I don't want to discourage someone.
No, if you're just starting out, it's a totally different thing. If you don't have kids, you don't own a business, you don't like have a full-time job, you don't have, if you're not a like fully grown adult like the two of us are, like if you are,
I'm almost 30.
You're old. If you don't, no. If you it's like, yes.
And it's hard because we're also like trying to, ideally, both of us make like, I'm just going to say your first feature. You've made a feature before, but your first, ideally
say
a
first
feature that
it's
you
not,
can,
it's
you
not
can
a
make,
feature.
You can make money back, or you can like start sort of a career and start making movies based upon that, that feature that you make and like try to make a living off of it. I think that's the goal for me, at least. So it's like, how do I go about it and like write a feature and get a budget and make it and use that to make my next one and make relationships. It also seems like make the next one.
It also just the older I get, and you look around, you realize like I don't know what the model is for somebody who isn't overwhelmingly successful. Like how you make a living off making features, making independent features.
It can't
on
get
a
very
regular
discouraging
basis.
Thinking about it,
because you're like look around, it's like. The only people that seem to be making money doing it full time are the people who are incredibly successful and have broken through the noise and are kind of like names or your for-hire directors going from movie to movie.
There is a sort of new model of jumping from directing a TV episode to doing a feature to, hopping on another, kind of, there's people, I guess everybody I'm thinking of is kind of wildly successful. So it might go
right.
Back
they have some kind of big thing that puts them on the map that then they, but
who's to say that you don't like start where we're starting now and then like have a wildly successful first feature and then make a living off of it?
Here's the problem. There's literally no model. I've talked about this on. This is usually I talk to Ryan Connolly about this kind of bummery stuff on podcasts.
He does talk. Well, he has like guests that like only talk about this kind of stuff as well on Film Right.
And whenever I'm on, it's like therapy between the two of us. No one's path is the same. And so it's infuriating and mind numbing, and it makes it impossible to plan a career in this. Like it really is just like, I don't know. You have to just be incredibly stupid and make a feature with hopes that it will break through the noise.
It is funny how much of this is just being like an idiot.
It is.
And crossing your fingers.
It's easy to be an idiot and make a podcast. Not easy, but like it's easier to be an idiot and make a podcast. It's easier to be an idiot and make a live stream show. Like I'm learning this. Like it's been easier to do that. It's easier to make a short. It's not easy anymore to get attention on that short. It's not easy to get attention on the podcasts or anything. So the idea that like, I don't know, I've been making shorts for a long time and it's really hard to break through that noise anymore. And so like, that's I think what worries me.
I don't want to get just like depressing.
It's winter, man.
Are you kind of at the point where you're like, no more shorts?
Yeah. Yeah, I just don't see any benefit out of them other than like. That's just like if I knew anything about weightlifting, it would be something about just lifting the same. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, I don't know. It's there's no growth I think there anymore.
When we made Pizza Time, that was my mindset. And then I didn't shoot anything for a few years. And I don't have like a feature ready to like, that would be like of a budget level. That would be my first feature, like ready yet. Like my plan was going to have the Pizza Time feature, which I actually want to meet with you soon and ask some opinions on.
Let's do it on the podcast right now.
Yeah. Okay. Let me pull it out. But
first, read the whole thing to me on air, and then recap Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, and we'll compare.
Oh man, yeah. I think this year I'm really itching to make another short. I think I'm going to do that.
You should.
What's funny is that I did the Pizza Time short, and then I'm writing the feature version of it, and then I have a feature that I'm doing a short version of, a short film this year, which is the heist. The I Bet You Money How I Got Here short film. I think I'm going to try to do it this year, but I'm just itching to make something, and I'm like, I still think I have some sort of muscles to work out in terms of directing before I do a feature, specifically like directing an ensemble. I've never done, like, all of my shorts have been one or two characters with either like all action or like all dialogue, where it's like I haven't sort of done a mix of all of it, showing off that it's like I can sort of direct that as well. And even my commercial stuff, it's like it's largely been, two or three characters. I've done a lot of ensemble stuff, so I think that's what
I was lucky to get to do when I worked the job I had before Red Giant, where I was doing like camp videos for summer camps, and I was getting to make these narrative little series.
I guess I have done some ensemble stuff with youth camp, like your youth group videos back in the day.
I mean, yeah, like you start that way, but like it's a guaranteed built-in audience. And then when I doing these videos for these camps, like I got to try all of this stuff that I wanted to learn how to do. Like I learned visual, I learned After Effects doing that stuff. I was working with my friends, but they were ensemble like cast, and I was writing, narrative things, and then doing the shorts at Red Giant helped me cut my teeth even more and build that out. Like, and then, but then doing these commercials that I've been doing for the past, especially the ones I've done in the past year, have been.
You've been killing it, bro.
Well, I've been working for a really great agency that I love and adore called Sandwich, and they're wonderful. They bring me really fun work. I've written like half the things I've directed for them, but that's actually allowed me to learn a lot of the stuff that I didn't learn on the shorts, particularly like doing the work I was doing, but on a level of like having a real team with real actually like everything is a collaboration. Almost nothing is just me. And that's gotten to me where like I feel like if I had the right amount, I feel like in the right scale of feature, like I feel qualified to go and take a crack at it and do it. But if it's going to be, I don't know, man, calling in favors and doing it for having people do things for free.
That's
and
the
like,
toughest part about short films.
I don't know if I can do it anymore. I don't think I feel too old to do that now.
Yeah. Even this short, like I think it's probably going to end up being sort of our highest budget thing. Cause at this point it's like, I just definitely like for sure, like the people that are putting in the most time and effort, like I want to be able to pay them. Like I'm kind of past the like, hey, come out and do this for free, unless it's like stuff that super close friends that I do that for them, and we sort of have this. There's sort of a community here where it's like we're all helping out in each other's stuff, passion projects. But for majority of the people,
you also want more people
like
than just that involved.
Yeah, totally. And it's like, yeah, I'm feel the same way. It's like, I'm so over just like, hey, do you mind coming out? Like, it'll be a really fun project. And I just feel like we need to pay people, especially after like hearing all the stories from like the IATSE stuff that was happening earlier last year. And just like how many people like are just working their asses off on film sets, and like we need to be like treating our crews better.
Yeah, exactly. 100%. I just think this hustle mentality around filmmaking, like it has a limit, and it was fun to preach it for a while. And now it just feels like, no, you know what? Like, let's all get paid to do our work. Like, let's all like, just any other industry. Like, why would you work without getting paid? Like there's no reason. By the way, on the pitching side too, it's like the amount that you're expected to go.
Yes.
I got infuriated. I just got exhausted over the past, like my whole time in LA. It was like, and before that too, and even still, like write a treatment, or you write a treatment that like, it'd be great if we could have a proof of concept for this. Like, okay, so you go and you shoot a proof of concept. And like, be great if we could have just like a few pages of script. Be great if we could have the first act. Great. Now it'd be great if we could just have the second act, the whole script. Be great if we could do a couple of rewrites on the script. I feel like it's just almost ready to take to this person or that person. You take it to that person and like, you know what? You need to just go write your script, or you need to just go shoot a proof of concept. And then you come to them and they're like, you need to just go make your movie. And you're like, what? That's why I'm here. Like, you need to just go make your movie. And
we'd love to watch it once it's done.
Yeah. And then if you go do it, you come back and you're like, well, you just need to go write that next movie, because that next movie is going to be, and that's the cycle it is. And
that scene from Tick, Tick, Boom. Did you see Tick, Tick,
Boom?
Oh,
God, yes. That's exactly.
That phone call, she's like, you just write the next one. And then after that, you write another. And another.
Oh, it hurts. It hurts so much.
I was just sitting there like, damn it.
Yes. I think we talked on the podcast about this. This was another one of those where Arlie was like, Arlie knew to look at me to see if I was weeping because it's,
yeah, I just like, it's one of, I wasn't like, I wouldn't say I cried as much as I just like, I know this is an audio podcast, but I'd make this face like, and just blink a few times and then, try to forget about it. Yeah, I mean, even in the commercial
Welcome back
world,
to the Writers Room Bitch Sesh with Seth and Ryan.
That's the title of this episode. Guys, we went in this with no script. This just ended up being
Can you tell?
No, but like in the commercial world, it's similar too, where it's like you don't get paid until you win the project. And typically like you're triple bidding against other production companies. And so like I think max I've probably put maybe 2 weeks into like a pitch, like treatment, working on it, like trying to make it perfect. And then like you pitch on it, you don't hear back from, for a few weeks, and then they follow up. They're like, hey, we went with the other production company. Thanks so much for your work on this. And it's just like, I guess we
exhausting.
Don't get paid at all for them.
Yeah, I really,
it's weird.
I don't know. I feels like they should just pick an agency that they're fans of their work and hire them to do something. It's like,
yes.
Like for our podcast, we knew we loved Meg Lewis. We loved Meg's work. We wanted to work with Meg. We thought based on her sensibility, she'd be awesome for what we're thinking for the Writers Room Game Show. We approached her about it. We said, we're going to pay you. We will. Would you please design our artwork? We will give you money in exchange. And then she went and worked up like 3 ideas under the like, we signed a thing and we paid her like she's doing that preliminary work, like giving us options. Once I'm sitting here talking about this is an entire industry. Like we're not going to change anything, and we don't know enough to institute change. But it just feels like people should just say, you know what, I like their work. I'm going to hire them to make a commercial, and if it doesn't go great,
I absolutely agree.
Then we cut our losses and we hire someone else.
Should be called Weekend Video, and you can find our work at weekend.video. Seth, it's been a while. You want to call it quits on this episode?
Yeah, let's do it. Are we going to write something next time?
Yeah, I think next week will be our first episode of season 3. We got some fun. Do we want to, for the lovely people who have stayed around, we'll introduce you to some of we like to do these 10 episode seasons because we can have a little break to talk about what we want to change and, add to the show. Seth, do you want to tell them about what we'll be adding to this season of the Writers Room Game Show?
Absolutely, I do. So a couple things.
We'll reintroduce this on the next week's episode, but you guys get the scoop for sticking around.
So a couple of things. We are going to add this new concept. We haven't actually named it yet, but the idea of not only are we going to be assigned by the studio a genre, tone, a demographic, and a studio mandate, we're also going to be issued 5, I think what we're calling ideas.
Ideas. Yeah.
We're getting 5 ideas.
We probably need to have a snappier name for that by next week's episode.
Yeah, we do.
I think ideas okay.
But those are essentially
you should generate them right now just so we can give an example of like an
randomly
assignment.
Generated. So here, I'll hit the idea button. It's a big brain.
So let's say our assignment is it's an action movie. The tone is happy. The demographic is for senior women, and the studio mandate is it stars Seth Worley and Ryan Pauly.
So we would have that assignment, and then on top of it, we would have 5 ideas generated that are not mandatory. They're not required, but if we use them, each will count 2 points towards our final score at the end if we use an idea. So if we use all 5 ideas and it works out, then we could get 10 points from using those ideas. And the reason that's important is because this year we haven't decided what the number is yet, but if we hit a certain number, point number, that episode will be considered sold to the studio, like bought. That'll be a purchased idea from the studio. So we are actually trying
there's some real stakes here in season 3.
Yeah, real stakes. So hitting the idea button. On top of the assignment, we would also get these 5 ideas to work with in this episode. First idea is a cave everyone calls the murder cave. So that's a plot element that we could integrate somehow. Second one is a magical diary. The third one is Satan. I guess that's as a character or what? The fourth one is inside a living body. I would count that as a setting. And the fifth one is home planet, and in parentheses, not Earth. So
nice.
For each of these ideas that we were able to integrate.
So hell is a planet and Satan lives there.
That's it. And it is inside of someone's body, turns out.
And Bill Murray's body, a la Osmosis Jones.
Yes, naturally, it all needs to be Osmosis Jones. So, like I said, we're going to be generating those ideas at the beginning as well. So each of those ideas if we integrate them, it adds an extra 2 points on top of our score.
And I think the goal for this, other than it just being a nod to something that we'll be announcing very soon, that we're not going to tease as much right now, but other than that, it also is going to be hopefully helping us if we have like a salt and pepper sort of moment where we can't really think of an idea for a while. This is it's things to help us kind of get there and also add some comedy. But at the end of the day, it's, best idea wins, I think, on our podcast. And hopefully we can still come up with some great ideas, but also incorporate some of these more ridiculous or seemingly random things and make them meaningful in a final idea or that we're developing. But
absolutely,
we'll see what happens. And
that's going to be season 3 and starts next week. Hopefully.
Yahoo! Seth, can we get some clapping?
Yes, we can. Okay. Listen to all of those listeners, all those fans. Oh, they went quiet. Anyway, I was really worried. I didn't actually remember which button it was. I was really worried it was going to be like, nope. That one. That's the one I was worried it was going to be.
Like season 3, and then that sound plays. Thank you everyone for joining, and we will see you next week on the Writers Room Game Show. The Writers Room Game Show with me, Ryan Paul, and Seth Worley. Executive produced by Grant Wakefield at Weekend Video and Ann Fogerty at Plot Devices. Edited to perfection by Rene Gomez. Our art is by your buddy, Meg Lewis, and our face-melting music is by Ben Worley. The Writers Room Game Show is a Weekend Video production in association with Plot Devices. Learn more about Weekend Video at weekend.video and check out writersroomgame.show to listen to all of our episodes and suggest your own prompts for future shows. And don't forget to rate and review our show on Apple Podcasts. It really helps our show out a lot. See you in the next one.